Left of the box. Here's Doug Ford being he'll claim to have friends from all different backgrounds, but really he's just kind of racist. So Doug Ford says he's done with students coming from ABC countries into our medical schools just because they pay a little more. Says, let's get rid of the 18% of foreign kids, and says, I'm not being mean, but I'm taking care of our students first, our kids first.
From both the Premier and Minister Jones, and Dr. Letton, if you want to jump in. Part of the problem that we keep hearing about with graduating medical students is either they leave to go somewhere else, United States, or that too many of the seats are held by people who are not from Canada and don't plan on staying in Canada. So as you announce this new medical school, as you announce, continue to make announcements about TMU, how do you make sure that the graduates actually end up working in Ontario? We're paying for a lot of the training. How do you keep them here one way or the other?
Well, thank you so much, Brian, for that, because that is my number one pet peeve, as the minister probably knows. You know, I want to support Ontario students, and God bless everyone else coming to our country. And, someone from ABC country comes and pays a little more, and I understand that money pays for some of the local students.
ABC
right
country.
now, I asked the minister, and I've been on this for a while, what is the percentage? It's 18% of 100% are foreign students coming in. But we in my opinion, and we'll continue working with the ministry, get rid of the 18%. I'm not being mean, but I'm taking care of our students, our kids first. These kids, and I talk to a lot of the parents, they have to go to Ireland, or they go down to the Caribbean, or they go to Australia, or they go down to the United States, and guess what happens? They meet someone, and they don't come back home. So, and that
Those assholes travel and find love. How dare they? And then they just don't come back after getting an education in another country.
that's it's good for them meeting someone. Bring that person back to Ontario. But I want 100% Ontario students, going to these universities. But Brian, you read my mind. I have been on this like a dog on a bone, I'll tell you. So, Minister?
You see, the thing is that he's talking about medical schools specifically. He's not talking about all schools. The reason why there aren't being retained any doctors and medical students here is because he's not fucking paying them. He keeps on cutting our healthcare and the spending and their wages and supplies and everything that they need, that he's making this province unworkable for people in the medical field unless they go private. That's the problem. Not the 18% of people from ABC countries coming over here to get an education. Because what? Is he just saying that there's nobody worth loving in this province, that we're so unlovable that people from another country won't then just come here and fall in love and stay here instead of going back to their country? Because he seems to think that people from Ontario will go to other countries, fall in love there, and then never come back here. So what, the quality of people here in Ontario just ain't worth sticking around for? Is that what he's saying? Oh, there's a little bit more on that. Ford wants 100% Ontario students at medical schools in province. So Premier Doug Ford says he wants all spots in Ontario medical schools to be reserved for students from the province. Then he needs to also have more incentive for people to even want to, go into medical school here. So he mentioned this in the little speech that he just gave. Ford lamented the fact that some kids and parents have said some Ontarian students study abroad then don't return home after they meet someone. Yes, they fall in love. So is that the trick? Is that what I'm missing? I need to go to another country so that I can find someone to fall in love with. Maybe that's it. There's just nobody in Ontario worth loving, that we have to go to other countries in order to fall in love and find that someone special. Is that the problem here? That people from other countries won't come here and stay here because just nobody worth it. His office said later Wednesday that it's medical seats he wants filled with Ontario students. NDP leader Merritt Stiles criticized Ford for his comments. Kudos, CP24, that's this, yeah, CP24, for actually mentioning Merritt Stiles. We'll get into this again later. It is one of my pet peeves that media never mentions the leader of the official opposition. Instead, they'll mention, Bonnie Crumby, who is it? Oh man, names are getting lost in my head right now. I think it's Bonnie Crumby right now, who's the leader of the Ontario Liberals. That's not even a party status right now. They don't have enough seats in the House to have party status, and yet the media will fall all over themselves to cover her. But Merritt Stiles never gets mentioned. At least they mentioned her here. So good on you, CP24. So she says the Premier's comments are wildly disrespectful to thousands of students and internationally trained physicians with experience from across the world stuck waiting for a residency spot so they can finally practice in our province, she wrote in a statement. He is telling skilled physicians from around the world looking to build a life in Ontario that they're simply not welcome here. A group representing migrant workers also took issue with Ford's comments. The Migrant Workers Alliance of Change is outraged at Premier Ford's distracting from his chronic underfunding of public education by blowing a racist dog whistle that casts international students as outsiders, which will worsen the already pervasive anti-migrant climate, said Sarom Rowe, a spokesperson for the organization. Migrants live here. We work here. We have families here. Oh, okay. So some people have fallen in love here or brought their families here. Okay. Okay. So there are some people. Okay. We are Ontarians. We deserve equal rights, not exclusion. Ford's comments came as a post-secondary institute grapples with growing reliance on international students whose numbers have exploded in recent years. I also covered this in a previous live stream because callers into the Majority Report were talking about this. So I talked about it. And Doug Ford wants to put a cap on tuition rates for students from Ontario, but increase the hell out of them for students from international students, which the universities then have to increase even more to make up for the amount of money that Doug Ford is underfunding the universities, because he's underfunding them a lot. And, our public ones are not profit institutions. So we have private ones, we have public ones, and the public ones are, provincially funded. And when he cuts those fundings, then they need to find other ways of making that money up to pay teachers and programs and stuff. But his treatment between the two different groups of people is so apparent that he just doesn't like international students. Like he hates them. He hates international students, is what it is. So post-secondary institutions, especially colleges in Ontario, turned increasingly to international students after Ford's government cut tuition by 10% in 2019 and froze it there. A government commission panel recommended last fall that the province unfreeze tuition, fund post-secondary institutions at an appropriate level, and increase supports for students in need. See? I know my stuff. I know my stuff. The province recently said it would keep tuitions frozen, rates, okay, many Ontario colleges, no deficits. Yep, cover that. I know my stuff. So last week, the province said it would prioritize its new reduced numbers of international undergraduate study permits to post-secondary institutions that offer in-demand programs, such as in the skilled trades. Nearly all of the permits will go to publicly assisted colleges and universities, with private career colleges receiving none. Ontario budget last week indicates that the lost international student revenue in the college sectors whose finances show up on the province's book will total about $3 billion over 2 years. Yeah. Doug Ford, horrible piece of trash. And it gets worse.